It was 8:47 p.m. on a Friday night at Miller's Diner, and she'd been on her feet since noon. Grease hissed from the kitchen. A baby cried in booth 4, and her section was packed with impatient customers, demanding extra ketchup and refills. But Claire didn't mind. There was a rhythm to it. The organized chaos. The quiet satisfaction of turning exhaustion into tips. She was saving for a management course at the community college, and every dollar mattered. What she minded was the man sitting at the counter, watching her with a smirk. Daniel Reeves, her husband. He'd come in again, dressed sharp, flashing his new watch, talking loudly about his consulting business. When they'd first met, she'd fallen for that confidence. But lately, it had turned into arrogance. A kind of sneering disdain for anything less than success. Still, here, huh? He said, when she passed with a tray. Didn't think you'd still be waiting tables at 30. Claire balanced her smile carefully. It's honest work, Daniel chuckled. Honest doesn't pay for vacations. Or ambition. He said it loud enough for the other waitresses to hear. She flushed, pretending not to notice as she took an order from a family of 4. When she turned back, he was gone, but the damage lingered like a sour taste. That night, when she came home to their apartment, the silence was heavy. Daniel was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. You look tired, he said, without looking up. Double shift, she said, dropping her bag. Tips were decent though, he sighed. Claire, you can't keep doing this. You're smart, but you're stuck. Don't you want more? I do. That's why I'm taking classes, he interrupted sharp. Classes? At a community college? Come on. That's not more. That's a hobby. Her throat tightened. We agreed I'd start small. You said you supported me. I did, he said flatly. But watching you serve pancakes while I'm trying to build something, it's embarrassing. The words hit like a slap. Embarrassing? Yeah, he said, standing. My friends ask what you do, and what am I supposed to say? My wife works the night shift at a diner. It makes me look like a failure. Claire stared at him, speechless. So your pride is worth more than my work? Daniel shrugged. My pride is worth more than pretending we're equals, when we're not. The argument stretched into the night. Words turning into weapons. Love into something unrecognizable. By dawn, he was gone. He took his suits, his laptop, and her savings. Everything but the cheap wedding ring sitting on the counter. She worked mornings at the diner, nights studying business and management, weekends catering for events. Every time she felt like quitting, she heard Daniel's voice. You'll never be more than a waitress. That voice became her fuel. By 29, she had her degree. By 30, she was assistant manager at a mid-tier cafe. By 32, she was leading 2 branches of a new restaurant group. Harvest table. It wasn't luck. It was sweat, sleepless nights, learning how to budget, how to motivate staff, how to manage chaos with grace. She grew into someone Daniel wouldn't recognize, and she liked that thought. Claire, congratulations, said Mr. Jameson, the company's co-founder, sliding a letter across the glass conference table. Regional Operations Manager. You've earned it. Her heart leapt. Thank you, sir. You'll oversee 8 new locations. He continued. We're opening one near Brookhaven. Small town, but great potential. Brookhaven. The name caught her breath. Daniel's hometown. She smiled faintly. That'll be poetic. 3 months later, Claire walked through the gleaming doors of Harvest Table. Brookhaven, clipboard in hand. The restaurant smelled of new wood and hope. She was inspecting the kitchen when HR radioed in. Candidate for line cook position just arrived. A Daniel Reeves. Her pen froze mid-air. No, it couldn't be. But when she stepped into the lobby, time folded on itself. There he was. Thinner, older, dressed in a cheap button-down. The swagger was gone. The expensive watch, gone. His eyes widened as recognition hit. Claire? He stammered. She met his gaze, calm, composed, radiant in her black blazer. "Hello, Daniel." He forced a laugh. "Wow, it's been a while. Didn't know you were in Brookhaven." "I'm not," she said. "I oversee the region. This is one of my branches." Silence. He blinked, as if trying to process the hierarchy that had flipped upside down. I heard they were hiring," he said awkwardly. "Just something to get back on my feet, you know." "I see," she replied smoothly. "Well, let's talk about your experience." She led him into her office. The same dynamic as before, but the power was hers now. "So," she said, reviewing his resume, "you ran a startup called Reeves Consulting." He shifted in his seat. "Yeah, didn't really take off. Wrong partners. And before that, some freelance gigs, a little marketing, some investments. You know how the economy's been." Claire nodded, professional. "And no hospitality experience." He hesitated. "Not directly, no, but I'm a fast learner." Her eyes lifted to meet his. "I remember you used to say restaurant work wasn't real work." His face flushed. "Claire, come on, just curious," she said softly. "What changed?" He looked down. "Life, I guess. Things didn't go the way I planned." For a moment, she almost pitied him. Almost. Then she remembered the night he'd left. The empty closet, the stolen savings, the way he'd called her beneath him. She smiled, cold but kind. "We'll let you know if you're a fit." He stood, eyes searching hers for something. Sympathy, forgiveness, maybe a lifeline. She gave him none. As the door closed behind him, Claire exhaled slowly. It wasn't triumph she felt. It was closure. For years she'd measured herself by his opinion. Now, she didn't need to. She turned back to her desk, the sunlight glinting off the glass plaque that read, "For weeks after the interview, Daniel haunted the edges of Claire's thoughts, like an unfinished sentence." She told herself it didn't matter whether HR hired him. He was just another applicant in a sea of resumes. But Brookhaven was small, and gossip traveled fast. 3 days later, she got the update. Subject: new hire confirmation. Daniel Reeves. Position: line cook. Trainee. Claire stared at the email. Her chest tightened, not with anger, but with something stranger, quieter. Fate, maybe. When she visited the Brookhaven branch for its soft opening, the staff buzzed with energy. New uniforms, new menu, a clean start. Daniel stood at the grill, his sleeves rolled, trying to look competent. He barely noticed her walk in until the head chef called, "Morning, boss." The title hung in the air. Daniel turned. Their eyes met across the kitchen. He froze. The spatula trembled slightly in his hand. Claire nodded once. Professional. Carry on. The staff scattered to their tasks, pretending not to stare. At lunch break, Daniel approached her office. He knocked once, timidly. "Come in," she said without looking up. He stood awkwardly in the doorway. "Look, Claire, I didn't know you were in charge here. If this makes you uncomfortable, I can quit." She set her pen down. "Why would it make me uncomfortable?" "Well, you know, history. History doesn't cook burgers," she said lightly. "If you can do the job, you stay." He nodded, surprised. "Thank you." She glanced at him. "Daniel, this company gives people second chances. Don't waste yours." Over the next few weeks, Claire watched him quietly from a distance. Daniel worked hard, quieter than she remembered. He stayed late, took extra shifts, helped younger cooks learn the ropes. Some of the old arrogance flickered now and then, but mostly he looked tired, like someone who'd been humbled by life. The staff adored her. They respected her kindness and precision, yet whispers swirled. That's her ex, the one who left her broke. Claire pretended not to hear, but every night, as she drove back to her hotel, she wrestled with conflicting feelings. Revenge had been easy to imagine when he was the villain in her story. Harder when he looked human. One Friday, the assistant manager, Carla, knocked on her door. Boss, I think you should know. Daniel's been telling some of the staff you only hired him to humiliate him. Claire's stomach dropped. He said that? Carla nodded. He's been drinking after shifts. Said you want him to beg. The old fire flared in her chest. Beg? He'd never begged when he emptied their account and walked out. She straightened her blazer. Thanks, Carla. I'll handle it. She found Daniel in the storeroom, stacking boxes. Got a minute? He looked up, startled. Sure. I hear you've been making assumptions about why you were hired. His jaw tightened. I just said it's ironic, that's all. Ironic, she repeated. You think I'd waste my time on irony? You're an employee like anyone else, he snorted. Right, you enjoy watching me sweat, don't you? The accusation hit her like a slap. She stepped closer, voice low. You think this is about revenge? Daniel, the day you walked out was the day I stopped needing your approval. I don't care enough to hate you. He stared at her, eyes flickering with something between guilt and disbelief. I'm sorry, okay? I was an idiot. You were, she said simply. But apologies don't erase consequences. She turned to leave, then paused. Show me you can respect this job. That's the only thing that matters. 2 nights later, a storm rolled over Brookhaven. Lightning flashed through the restaurant's big front windows as staff hurried to close early. Claire stayed late, reviewing reports. The rain was relentless, drumming against the glass. Then came a knock. Daniel again. He stood soaked, holding a folded envelope. I got a job offer, he said quietly. A small diner in Greenville. Manager position. They called today. Congratulations, she said. He hesitated. Before I go, I need to tell you something. She looked up. His face was sincere, stripped of pretense. I used to think success was about winning, he said. Money, image, control. But watching you here, the way people respect you, the way you lead, I realized it's about purpose. You were never beneath me, Claire. I was beneath you. Silence filled the office. Thank you, she said finally. For saying that, he nodded. You deserved better than the man I was. She smiled faintly. I got better. I became her. He laughed softly, bittersweet. Guess I had to fall to see it. She extended her hand. Good luck, Daniel. He took it. His palm was rough, his grip humble. Then he left, disappearing into the rain, a silhouette swallowed by lightning. When the door closed, Claire stood alone, listening to the storm ease into a drizzle. She expected to feel triumph, or at least satisfaction. Instead, there was peace, a kind of quiet balance. Revenge hadn't been the goal anymore. Growth had, and she had outgrown him long before he knew it. She turned off the lights, locking the office behind her. Tomorrow would bring new hires, new challenges, new beginnings, and somewhere out there, Daniel would start over too. Maybe wiser, maybe not. Either way, it wasn't her concern. Because real revenge, she realized, isn't served cold. It's served far above the table. 2 months passed since Daniel left. The Brookhaven branch thrived. Record sales, glowing reviews, staff who looked up to Claire, not just as a boss, but as the quiet force behind every success. Her life finally felt stable. She'd silenced her past and built something lasting. Until one Monday morning, her assistant burst into her office. Claire, we have a problem. Harvest Table's regional headquarters buzzed with tension. One of their suppliers, Green Pro Foods, was under investigation for mislabeling products. A few branches had already been flagged for using contaminated stock, and one of those branches was Brookhaven. Claire's stomach sank. What's our exposure? Minimal so far, her assistant said, but the local diner manager who reported it, a Daniel Reeves, the pen in Claire's hand froze. He'd reported it, not hidden it, not ignored it, reported it. She drove out to Greenville that afternoon. The diner was small, with chipped paint and a flickering neon sign. Through the window, she saw Daniel behind the counter, sleeves rolled up, laughing with customers. He didn't notice her at first. When he did, surprise flickered across his face. Then something steadier, warmer. "Claire," he said, wiping his hands. "I didn't expect you here." "Neither did I," she said. "You saved us from a legal disaster," he shrugged. "Just doing what's right. I saw the shipment tags didn't match, so I called corporate." She studied him. He looked different, not richer, not more successful, but grounded. "You did the right thing," she said quietly. "Guess I learned from the best," he said, smiling. After the inspection cleared, corporate sent Claire to negotiate with local suppliers. The Greenville diner impressed everyone. Efficient, welcoming, profitable. Her boss leaned over during the meeting. "You know the manager here. He's sharp. We're expanding in the region. Think he'd consider joining us again?" Claire hesitated. He might. Then make the offer. That night, she sat across from Daniel in the diner's corner booth. The smell of coffee and rain filled the air. "They want you back," she said. "Assistant manager role with growth potential, full salary and benefits." He stared, stunned. "Why would you do that?" "Because you earned it," she said simply. He shook his head slowly. "You could have ignored me after everything I did." "I could have," she said, "but I'm not the same person you left." He considered for a long time. "I appreciate it, Claire, but this place," he gestured around, "feels like home now. I like starting fresh, making something honest." She smiled. "Then that's your answer," he nodded. "You really forgive me." Her gaze softened. "I don't forgive you for you, Daniel. I forgive you for me. Holding anger takes too much space, and I've got better things to build." They sat in silence for a moment. Two people who had once shared everything and now shared nothing, except closure. Before she left, Daniel reached into his pocket and placed something on the table, the old wedding ring he'd left behind years ago. "Thought you might want it back," he said. Claire looked at it, dull, scratched, smaller than she remembered. She smiled faintly. "No," she said, sliding it back. "You keep it, a reminder of what you lost." Then she stood and left. Months later, Harvest Table named her Vice President of Operations. Her story became something of a legend among employees. The waitress who rose to the top. At the annual company gala, her mentor toasted her success. "To Claire Reeves," he said, raising a glass. Proof that grace is stronger than vengeance. As applause filled the hall, Claire smiled. A real, unguarded smile. She'd built her empire not out of anger, but out of the ashes of what anger had left behind. Outside, the city lights shimmered across the glass, reflected in her eyes. Somewhere far away, in a quiet diner, a man named Daniel wiped down a counter and watched the same night sky. Two lives once tangled, now free. Revenge had ended, not with a scream, but with silence. The peace of a woman who finally understood. The best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's proving yourself right.